You're listening to The Coffee Hour. I'm Sarah Gulseth.
I'm Andy Bates.
What are Bach societies and how do they help share the beautiful music of J.S. Bach? We have another great conversation during Bach Week.
Today's episode of The Coffee Hour is underwritten in part by Concordia University St. Paul. You can learn more about Concordia University St. Paul by visiting csp.edu.
We have two fabulous guests in the studio with us today. Ron Klemm, host and producer of Bach Talk and former KFUO Radio talent, joining us again.
Talent. Wow.
I know. Welcome back to the Coffee Hour, Ron.
Thank you. Always good to hang out with you people. You make me look smart. Yeah.
Also joining us today, Dr. A. Dennis Sparger, music director and conductor of the Bach Society of St. Louis. So welcome to the Coffee Hour, Dr. Sparger.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be with you.
We do love talking about Bach during Bach Week, and we get to talk about Bach societies today. And I think we have two great experts in the studio to share the story of Bach Society, St. Louis Bach Society, and singing Bach in groups, why that is so important for us to be doing. So we like to talk about the importance of Bach, why Bach makes a difference in the music that we all know and love, especially in the Lutheran Church. Dr. Sparger, tell us about the importance of Bach. Why is Bach important to us?
Well, I was afraid you were going to ask that question, and the answer could go on and on and on. I considered bringing my Bach library along with me, but I gave away my wheelbarrow and couldn't bring them all along. So I picked out one book that had some interesting writing in it, and this is by Calvin Stapert. And he begins his book called My Only Comfort by writing, "In the history of Western music, J.S. Bach is unsurpassed, perhaps unequaled, in mastery of technique and profundity of thought. He was a devout Lutheran whose knowledge of scripture and theology was so broad and deep that the eminent historian of theology, Jaroslav Pelikan, wrote a book entitled Bach Among the Theologians. Given Bach's combination of musical prowess, personal devotion, and theological understanding, it is not surprising that his music stands unexcelled among artistic expressions of the Christian faith."
Powerful stuff.
Yeah. Now, both of you have been involved with Bach Society here in St. Louis for many years. Both of you are well known in the arts community here in St. Louis. Dr. Sparger, let's share your story a little bit. Where did your love for Bach begin? And then we'll talk about how you got involved with the Bach Society.
Oh, gee. As I worked my way through college, I played almost every weekend in bars as a jazz pianist.
Oh.
And when I went into my teaching career, I continued with that on weekends because, as we all know, teachers aren't paid what they're worth. So we had to supplement. And by the time I'd begun studies in my doctorate, I realized I needed a big chorus to perform the big works and kind of expand what I'm learning about. To put these learnings into practice. So in 1974, I founded the Masterworks Chorale in Belleville, Illinois. And that group grew to have over 70 members and did wonderful performances in beautiful churches on the east side. And just kind of established who we are and what we do. And then by 1986, the Bach Society was looking for a new conductor, and my orchestra contractor, that's the person that's hired to hire the orchestral players, recommended to the board of the Bach Society that they take a look at this fellow they'd never heard of before. So a few board members came to one of my concerts and thought, we should talk with this fellow. So I talked with them, and a few weeks later I had the job. That was 40 years ago, and I still love what I'm doing. Now, of course, I studied Bach, long before that time and was, so attracted to his music, both as a young piano student and then as a young conductor. But I would rather conduct him over anyone. There's always so much to study. Even a work that I've conducted 10 or 12 or 14 times, I still go back and find new information in his score.
Ron, I know we've talked about your love for music. How about Bach specifically? Where did that appreciation and love for Bach begin?
I grew up, as did my brother from a different mother, Dennis, in an era when Bach was done with big orchestras and big choirs. I remember, and I've told you this story, Andy, I remember as a kid crawling underneath the Victrola in my grandfather's living room when he would play those great big Stokowski arrangements of Toccata and Fugue in D minor or something like, and it was. Yep. And it was sounded, and then the choir would come and sing "Yesu, Joy of Man's Desire" and blow the roof off the dump, right? But, Bach would have never experienced that, but that's how we were drawn in with that. And then you learn more. And then in church, we would sing, "Oh, Sacred Head." And it just moved me. I loved that hymn. I still love that hymn. But then I discovered, oh my goodness, Bach used it in his St. Matthew Passion. Not once, but how many times, Dennis?
5 times.
5 times the same chorale. And that just is the glue that ties the whole story together. And these are the things that over time, they get into your soul and they become part of who you are as a person. But, it was a slow development. You know me, I started out as a sportscaster and then got into classical music, but Bach kind of slowly raised his head above the rest.
And during our lifetimes, we began to find conductors that were starting to study the treatises and learn that the music should not be so slow and thick and ponderous, but should come to life with vitality.
And dance sometimes.
And dance, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. When Dennis took over the Bach Society, it was not doing all Bach, and still isn't, but he was able to kind of bring Bach back to the forefront. And so that's what I appreciate about my brother Dennis so much.
Hey, Dennis, tell us about, you said you would rather conduct him over anyone. I'm curious what it is about Bach that's so enlightening for you, so magical for you to be able to conduct Bach with orchestras, with choirs, with soloists. What is it about Bach for you that's so special?
It certainly has a spiritual dimension beyond all other composers. And as he writes to the glory of God, he's using every bit of his awareness, of his knowledge, of his skill to do the very finest work that he can produce. The music can be fun and uplifting. It can be very serious. It can be very elegant. It can be very rhythmic. There are just so many different qualities that he brings into his music, and it always keeps us up and working on our skills to try to keep up with him.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
What about the aspect of singing together? When you get to meet together with the Bach Society and sing, what are the benefits, or why is it important to be able to come together to sing like this?
Wow. Well, I have a little sadness right now because we're not getting together during the summer, so right. I miss all my people. But it's very much like going to church. Yes, you can sit at home and watch this watch a service on your computer, but being there in person, feeling a part of the singing of the hymns, of hearing the great organ music, of hearing the sermon and the scripture reading speaking directly to you. And this is what we get out of singing as well, that doing this together is just so mutually supportive in more than just a musical way, because we know that our lives are enriched, we are healthier because we sing, we are more mentally fit because we sing. It's just such a blessing.
For our Bach Talk podcast, I recently had the opportunity to talk to the grandson of the founder of the Bach Society, the founder, Dr. William Heine, and his grandson was telling me a story of what he remembered his grandfather saying at one point. And that is that there is nothing better than to have a large group singing together as one voice, and that you can have one voice and you can have an instrument, but when you have a choir of voices, a collegium, a group, a society of people coming together and doing it, there's nothing that tops it. So there you go. from the words of the founder of the Bach Society.
Ron, what about you? You've sung in large groups. You've sung with the Bach Society. What is it about singing with a group that's special for you, especially singing Bach?
There is a coming together of mind, spirit, and soul that goes beyond all of the coming together musically. The music is desperately important. And without a conductor like Dennis, you're not sure if it's going to be right. So you have this combination of excellence in music and this deep, rich rooting into scriptural truths. That's what I find so powerful about the music of Bach.
Yes, we're talking about J.S. Bach and the St. Louis Bach Society during Bach Week. We have more to talk about after we take a quick break. You're listening to The Coffee Hour. I'm Sarah Gulseth.
I'm Andy Bates.
Who am I? How has God gifted me? Where is God calling me to serve? Concordia University St. Paul helps students explore the answers to these questions. Through a Christ-centered Lutheran higher education, dedicated faculty, and engaging academic programs, CSP is here to walk alongside you in your educational journey. With more than 100 degree programs from undergraduate to graduate offered in person and online, CSP aims to prepare you for success however God calls you. Visit csp.edu to discover and engage your calling today.
Welcome back to the Coffee Hour. I'm Sarah Gulseth.
I'm Andy Bates.
We're talking with Ron Klemm, host and producer of Bach Talk and former KFUO Radio talent, and Dr. A. Dennis Sparger, music director and conductor of the Bach Society of St. Louis. Now, Dr. Sparger, tell us a little bit more about the Bach Society of St. Louis. You said you've been there for about 40 years now?
40 years for me.
Yeah.
And the organization has been here for 85 years.
Yeah, tell us more of that history.
Yes. Well, it began in 1941. Under Dr. William Heine, and his purpose was that the people of St. Louis should have the opportunity to hear the music of Bach on a regular basis. And that was his charge to his singers, his players, his board members, his funders, and he just made everything work. It was not always a smooth course. They struggled from time to time. In fact, at about their 12 or 13-year history, they were in debt, in today's money, of $139,000. Ooh. But they got through it. They raised the funds and kept on going. And even during my time, we've had highs and lows. But now the organization is quite secure financially. We have a wonderful board that helps raise the funds that we need. We have singers who are so engaged and wonderful players to make all of this take place. We continue to do a lot of the music of Bach, but especially the big works, Mass in B minor, which now is funded every third year in perpetuity through a gift from Bob Duesenberg.
Wow.
And we also do the St. Matthew Passion, the St. John Passion, the Magnificat, because these are the big works that we can do. And they feature the chorus quite prominently in these works. So this is, the wonderful course that we've taken.
Forgive my ignorance.
It's okay.
I'm going to ask.
I don't know if we can do that.
I'm asking the question because I don't know the difference, but perhaps the listener doesn't know the difference as well. Why is it a Bach Society and not considered just a choir? What's the difference between having a...
Very good question. That's an excellent question. But you're an intelligent man, Andy.
It could be the Bach Company, I guess, or the Bach Singers. In 1941, I think society referred to a coming together of people and supporters feeling that they were included in the organization as well. Now, believe me, ever since I've been doing this job, about every 7 or 8 years, a board member will bring up the idea, this word society seems to turn some people off. They don't know what it means. They feel they're excluded. Why don't we change the name? But what we've discovered is that the cost of rebuilding your awareness in changing a name, could cost you more than just trying to promote what you have and who you are.
And that's what we try to do, is promote what the Bach Society is and all that we've talked about up to this moment. That's exactly what we're trying to do. When the Bach Society first founded, Dr. Heine called it the St. Louis Bach Choir, and eventually it became the Bach Society. But I think that was just as much based on the German word collegium, or collegium, as we would say, which is a coming together of a society of people coming together to support a common cause musically. And so then we just called it society, and that was fine for a long time until somebody thought it was snobbish, and then you have this argument every couple of years. But it is anti-snobbish, I'm telling you. There's nothing snobby about it. It's very, very much in the mainstream.
Right. And when I started, it was called both the St. Louis Bach Society and the Bach Society of St. Louis. And I tried to standardize it to the Bach Society of St. Louis, so we would be listed first in the phone book.
Oh, I remember the phone book.
You remember the phone book. Now that doesn't matter so much, but for alphabetical listings. But we thought we needed to standardize our name. Yeah, if we went to the website of the American Bach Society, where many of the similar organizations across this country are members, you'll find many that are listed as society, and along with the name of their city. In fact, almost every major city across the country has a Bach Society, and sometimes they're named after the state, other times after the city. And it's a very prominent name to be used everywhere. So we're not alone in this. There's one website that points out that there are over 300 Bach societies or festivals with choirs or orchestras around the world.
Right.
And that every continent has at least one Bach Society, including New Zealand. And they have their one Bach Society. But there's another website. Can I think of the name of it? It's called Bach on Bach. Is one long word. And it lists by name 222 Bach societies around the world.
Right.
So we're not alone.
Collegiums or festivals, as you say.
Yeah.
But there's always Bach is at the center of it. So it's really pretty amazing.
I'm not sure if I know of another composer that has this phenomenon of societies named after him all around the world. What is it?
Well,
not this much.
Why do you think that is?
Yeah.
I'll ask the questions here.
Guys, the questions.
We ask the questions here.
Oh, that's right. I'm on the other side of the table.
This isn't your podcast,
I'm not used to being on this side of the table. I'll tell you why.
He thinks it's Bach Talk.
It is not.
Podcast.
It's coffee hour.
I'll tell you. Well, where's my coffee? I'll tell you why I think that is. There's some wonderful Mozart societies and Haydn's and Handel societies, and they do Mendelssohn, another one, where that particular music is the focus. But I don't think there is, first of all, it's volume. Bach wrote so many church cantatas, rarely done these days except in very liturgical circles. But I think it's because of this combination, as I mentioned before, of musical excellence and the depth of the texts. Mm-hmm. The unapologetic depth of some of these texts. I am a sinner and I need salvation and I need a savior. Okay. A lot of places don't want to go there because, well, that might turn some people off. Tough. Right? Yeah. Too bad. That's what Bach believed. Mm-hmm. That's why the Bach Society does what it does, because these texts need to be heard. If not us, who? Mm-hmm. Who's going to do it? Right? So that's why I just think this organization is so important.
Mm-hmm.
How do you see Bach societies like Bach Society of St. Louis influencing the culture, particularly music and the arts around them? Dr. Sparger?
Well, we certainly have a standard of performance, and I think most people, and especially singers, recognize that when we give performances, we sing in tune, we sing with accuracy, we sing with expression, that our performances reach the heart, the emotion of people as well as the mind. And I think this inspires other organizations to work as diligently to reach for these goals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ron, do you have anything to add?
Well, yeah, I'll embarrass him to death, of course, but let me brag on my brother one more time. I have been to a concert where they performed music of Bach. I won't say where, I won't say who. And it was musically
Dennis wants to know.
excellent. It was superb. It was spot on. And they might as well have been singing "My Soul is Dead." Mm. And that's the difference. And that comes from the top. Mm-hmm. What Dennis tries to do is convey, without preaching, but convey his own commitment to these texts and make them come alive and make them live in people's minds. It's more than just hearing the music, isn't it? It's more than just seeing the words in the program. Oh, that's fine. No, they have to be communicated. And that's why the Bach Society, instrumentalists, vocalists, everyone involved, become a conduit for this thing we call the music of Bach. And it can be done with precision, but with no soul. It can be done with great soul and pretty lousy technique. Dennis and the Bach Society has both. That's the difference.
Yeah, that is really special when a conductor and musicians are able to do something like that, to pull together music and to have the audience actually feel something. You're right. You can go to a performance and it can be technically accurate and perfect and brilliant, and you don't actually feel anything. The musicians were not actually communicating anything.
Right.
But you're right. When that's able to be done with the musicians and the conductor leading that,
right,
it really is something special.
But you really mentioned the word performance. I want to key in on that. You know, so much of Bach's music was not meant to be performed. Mm-hmm. It was meant to be worship. And yet we do performances in a concert hall. So that putting those two things together is not an easy task, mm-hmm, right? It's difficult. And again, bridging that gap, that's what I love about the Bach Society.
Yeah. What if both of you learned over the years, you both have a long history with Bach, with the Bach Society. What has Bach taught you? What have you learned from him? How has it changed you over the years, Dennis?
Spend more time studying.
Because every time you look at a work, if you've done it a dozen times, you find something new.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So there is that.
The more time I spend studying, the easier it is for all of my musicians to grasp what's going on and to do their part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ron, what about you?
What I've learned, something that I knew, and you can read it in a book or you can recite it in class, but until you fully experience it, it doesn't really catch. Mm-hmm. And that is something that our assistant conductor, Stephen Eros, said once to me. Said his mantra is, music elevates words. You can hear a sermon and can go in, sorry, I'm guilty of this. We can go in one ear and out the other. All right? You can hear some music and okay, fine. And you leave and you don't. But when you have words that are meaningful to you and you hear them through music, suddenly it becomes a part of you. Suddenly is probably not the right word. Over time, over a lifetime, they live in your heart,
that's
right?
Exactly. It's a lifetime pursuit. But one should not expect to get it
right.
with one hearing.
Right.
Sure.
For those of us not involved with the Bach Society, mm-hmm, not a member of this society yet, how do we...
Concerts, you're involved.
It's not snobby, right? How do we learn about Bach Society in St. Louis and find out what's coming up next?
Well, first you could write a check and mail it in, and we'll put you on the mailing list.
Great idea.
Or listen to Bach Talk, and you'll know.
Yes. No, our website certainly promotes everything that's going on, throughout the season. And this summer it's under revision, and a new one will be coming up, I think, in the next couple of weeks. And we'll be getting ready to introduce next fall season. Since it's just the four of us sitting here, I could tell you.
Don't let anyone know. We'll make sure we...
Yes, keep it to yourself. We begin the season with The Creation by Haydn.
Oh.
And it's every section is about how the world was created, and it ends with Adam and Eve in the garden. And it's a fun piece because Haydn has such a great sense of humor.
He does.
And describes things so well, including the whales and the beasts of the sea. And, one thing after another gets a musical description. So that's what kicks off the year. And then at Christmas time, we're doing a piece by Mendelssohn called Vom Himmel hoch. It takes the well-known chorale and expands upon that for chorus, orchestra, and soloists.
The website for Bach Society of St. Louis?
Well, quite simply, it's bachsociety.org.
Very good. Last question. We have about 30 seconds. Stories that show up on Bach Talk, your podcast, which is also available at bachsociety.org. Right. What are some of the stories you cover on Bach Talk?
Oh, well, we love to talk to the musicians. Bach Talk is not a scholarly program.
Not technical at
all. Yet we learn a lot, right? But the idea is to talk to people who have these stories, who tell stories about their lives. And it sometimes relates to Bach and sometimes it doesn't. But there's always some connection to the Bach Society of St. Louis. That's what we try to do. But I'm not, all sorts of great stories in the past, and I've got some wonderful ones coming up that are in the pipeline, in the production pipeline. You know all about that, Sarah.
Oh, yeah.
In the production pipeline. So Bach Talk, and you can find that through the Bach Society's website, bachsociety.org.
Fantastic. We will put that link, both of the link to the Bach Society and Bach Talk, in the show notes for the episode. It has been a joy to have both of you in studio. Would you like to share one more thing, Dr. Sparger?
Well, I have one more reading to share with
Beautiful.
you. These are symptoms of what all Bach lovers know. There is no more exuberantly festive music, no more intensely expressive music, no more sublimely beautiful music, and no music so full of life as that of J.S. Bach.
Absolutely. Dr. A. Dennis Sparger, Music Director and Conductor of the Bach Society of St. Louis, thank you so much for joining us today on the Coffee Hour.
My pleasure.
And Ron Klemm, host and producer of Bach Talk and former KFUO Radio talent. Thanks for joining us again on the Coffee Hour.
Thank you for giving me talent.
You're listening to the Coffee Hour during Bach Week. I'm Sarah Gulseth.
I'm Andy Bates.
The Coffee Hour is a production of KFUO. This program and our station are dependent on listeners just like you. To support KFUO Radio, our podcast, and all the other programming, please make your gift or pledge today at kfuo.org/give and help us continue sharing the good news of Christ for you anytime, anywhere. kfuo.org/give.